Hello, today we're going to look at an HP Office Pro 8500 wireless printer. We are going to be doing some routine maintenance, cleaning it up, making sure everything is still working the way it's supposed to. You can also use this procedure to disassemble it to make repairs if you know which part you need to replace. So you could either one. This procedure also works with the other versions of the 8500 that are not wireless, but this particular version is. So for this, you'll need a knife or a flathead screwdriver, a flashlight, a small Torx head screwdriver or star head screwdriver. If you're cleaning it, you'll need some Windex or some glass cleaner, and a nice big roll of paper towels because it will get messy. And the first thing you want to do is to unplug it, power it off, unplug it, remove your paper. There's some paper in there. And remove your ink, which I've already removed the ink. And then turn it around and take this back piece off. And you can set that aside. Okay, after that, we got it turned around to the back here. We're going to start taking out some screws with our screwdriver. Take out this screw here, and then 2 screws on this side. Okay, after I took out those 4 screws, on each side, under this part right here, there's a little clip on this side, under here too. There's a little plastic clip holding that on, so you can take a flathead screwdriver or a knife or something and pop those loose. Okay, after you pop those tabs out, and I just popped out one with my finger actually because they were pretty loose. Go to the, this is the back, so if you're facing the front of it, this would be the left side. And pop this panel, just pops right off. There's some clips at the bottom. I just pulled it right off, but those may be hanging you up if you can't get it off. That comes right off, and then this back panel should pull right off. There's some clips in there again. Just work it down. Yep, just pops right off. This side took a little bit more effort to get off. It just didn't pop right off, but I got off with some pulling on it. This actually, it wraps. It's one piece all the way around the front. Your card reader and everything goes all the way around here. So when you're pulling it off, make sure you don't break it off or crack it at the corner because it goes all the way around the front. With the covers off, you can pretty much see the entire bottom part of the printer. Next, we're going to take the top, not the lid for the scanner, but the printer cover, I guess. Okay, in order to get this top part off, the first thing we have to do is there's a little cover. A cover covers up these ribbon cables that go to the scanner. So when you take that cover off, it just pops right off. Next, we will start to remove our ribbon cables, and these just gently, very gently, pull these out. We don't have to really worry about labeling them or getting them mixed up when we put it back together because they only fit in one slot here. And with these bins, you can pretty much determine which one they go to because they hold the bins pretty well. So you can pull this ribbon around here and up through the part where the cover was. Pull that through gently because these things, they're pretty durable, but if you break them, it's very hard to repair them. In fact, it's almost impossible. You just have to replace the whole ribbon. And these 2 ribbons come around the back here. And actually just go inside there like that and pull that out. And then there's a bundle of cables, bundle of wires, I guess. Comes down, goes up into there, so we can unplug that. The next thing we do is on the bottom, under the printer, where the ribbon cables are, we took the bottom cover off, but there's a cover on top. In order to get, I already pulled it partway off, but in order to get that off, you take your flathead screwdriver. There's a little pin right here, see where it will crack, and you push against that, and this will just pop. And now we can access our hinges for the scanner. There's one, and there's another one that doesn't have a cover or anything on it on that side. And these hinges are a little tricky. The way you get them off is there is a little, if I can get in here, pin there in the middle. You squeeze that on either one, or actually on both at the same time, and tip the scanner part forward like this. And it will still be stuck on there. If I can get it like that and get a video, I will show you. Yes, and I finally got it to stay there so I can take a video of this part. But you push in on that pin that I showed you in the previous part was through that hole. You pushed in on that and slide this entire part, top part, down. And it'll pop out of the slot, and then you could tip it forward so it's only hanging on the front part. And then there's a little clip that is still hanging on that you just kind of have to manipulate out. See, the other one's like that too, it's just hanging there. And once that's once you get those off, then you can just take the whole top part and set it aside. Alright, now I got the top piece off, the scanner part's right here. It's really kind of hard to describe how I did it. I just kind of just wiggled it until one side came off, and I wiggled the other side until the other side came off, and I just took it off. I'm sure there's a more technical way of doing it, but I got it off. So next, we'll be pushing our hinges back down so we can get down into our screws. We want the screw on this side. And then once you loosen up that screw, you can loosen up this other screw. That one pulls on the hinge itself. It's not necessary to take that one out as well, unless you want to. But we just take out the one on each side. Come around the front, turn around. There's a screw there, a screw down here, and this is on the right side. And on the left side, there's one hiding down here. Okay, with those screws out, takes a little bit of persuasion, but you can then loosen this the whole black piece as one piece. So you can loosen the whole black piece up. And before you take it off, if yours has Wi-Fi or is wireless, you need to unplug your wireless antenna, which is right here. And then this piece, you can, oh, there's something else going on. Oh, it appears that this black and red plug is holding it on. And maybe something else, yep, two more. This one right here. So after those are off, you can just take the whole black piece off. And now we're pretty much down to the bare bones. This right here is where the ink is dumped. So that's the part we're trying to get out to clean. Now we're going to take our control board out. And in order to do that, there is a screw right here that I already took out. There's a screw down here that you need to take out. And then there's a screw on this side that you also need to take out. Then you disconnect, there's a ribbon cable. And pretty much anything else that's plugged in up here, disconnect and pull out over here. And lastly, before you attempt to pull this out, there's a ribbon cable, and it's hidden because it's tight like that, but it's hidden right here. That goes to your printer head, goes up and over to your printer head here. This one is different from all the rest. We can't just pull this one out. It has a little lock on it. That brown piece right there. And I'm going to take my knife and you just lift, gently. Lift it up like that on one side. And lift it up like that on the other side. Then you can tip it forward. Get your fingers in there and gently pop it loose. Then you can remove your control board from the printer. Next, we're going to remove our belt that moves our printer head, and we do that by loosening up the screw. Just loosen it up. You don't need to take it all the way out. Just loosen that up, and the belt will become loose if you push on it. Then you can work the belt off. That. And make sure you get the wheel seated back so you don't lose the wheel. Next, we're going to remove this little plastic strip here with these lines. And to do that, you just simply release it like that. And make sure you don't crease or bend this too much, because this little piece of plastic has lines on it, and that's how the printer head knows at what position it is on the paper. So we'll set that aside. Next, we will take those 3 screws out. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we took those 3 screws out. And I forgot to say this before, but if your printer head is in the way, you can just move it out of the way. Because when you put it all back together and turn it on, it will restart itself. It'll move itself back to the home position, and it will start over again. So it doesn't really matter if you move it or not. But we got those 3 screws out. Next, we'll take out this screw right here. Okay, after we take that screw out, this part here is pretty loose. The only thing that's really holding it in is there's a clip, a black clip. It comes from there and goes through this side right there. If you push on that with your flathead screwdriver, it should pop loose. And there's one on the back as well. It comes through and it is right there. I'll push on those. Okay, we push those clips out. And if you haven't done it already, you can take this absorbent pad off here. And it's just to absorb any ink that seeps out. Oops. Set that aside. And then there is those wires that we took off the control board. There's a clip right there that we can move the wires out of the way, and then pretty much get all the wires. There's another clip there and one right there, and the ribbon cable. Get those out of the way, and we can take this part out. For the most part, there's another step that we have to do. Okay, with those wires out of the way, we can then gently, don't pull it from the front because it's still attached. We have a bunch of vacuum tubes up here it's still attached to. And I'll show you how to disconnect those. But you can pull it from the back and gently work its way out. And if we look down in here, there's our little pump that makes our vacuum for our printer head. Or not the printer head, but it uses a vacuum to pull the ink through the printer head to clean it when it's doing its maintenance cleaning. And there's a screw, if I can get it, right there holding that on. So we're going to unscrew that. It's this screw right here. Okay, after you loosen that screw, there's another screw back over here. You can go ahead and take that one out. Okay, and after you take those 2 screws out, you can then remove our little vacuum pump here. And when you take these out and you're moving it around, because it's still attached to this bigger piece, you want to make sure you don't lose any of these gears. I know in particular one of these think it's this big one right here, or maybe, no, it's this big one, isn't clipped on, and it will just pop right off. So don't lose that piece, or there's a spring on the back that just fell off actually. You don't want to lose that spring either. Okay, now that we got that out of there, like I said, that one big gear isn't held in by anything, it's just sitting there, so it will most likely come off at some point, and also the spring on the other side. But once you get this part out, you can pretty much rinse this out with hot water. I've done this before and it hasn't caused any problem. The only electronic part on this part is this little sensor. It comes around and it's right in there. Push this part out right here, and again, don't lose that spring because that's an important spring. And then you can rotate that gear and it will rotate the inside mechanism through its various things, and you can get a nice thorough cleaning in there. Water. And while you have it apart, you can clean up all this part. If I can, that wasn't a good example, but if I roll the printer head this way, that's the clean part that is brushed off of my finger versus the dirty part, obviously. So that's how clean it could be. And you can also clean off the strip here that has the little lines that goes from end to end through the print head. You can clean that out, clean it off with Windex, just again make sure you don't fold it or crease it in any way. Get it nice and clean, because the cleaner it is, the less likely it is to err. Okay, got our printer all cleaned up here. I put some new grease on the bar so it slides really smoothly now. I went ahead and put the belt back on so it slides really smoothly. I went ahead and put grease on these little grooves, little ledges right there, I guess, because that's what the mechanism slides on. So any place that could cause any unnecessary resistance, I re-greased. I'm going to put some more grease on here because there was some grease on there to begin with. But the next part is we're kind of reassembling it. Our ribbon, or the ribbon that we took off with all the little lines, we are going to put back in. And if you look at the end, you see one end has a little arrow. That arrow is going to point up. So when we're putting it back in the printer, we want that arrow to point up. And it only goes on, one end only fits one side. So you can't get it backwards. But I'll show you how to put this back in. Okay, first thing, you want to make sure that you only handle this piece of plastic by the ends that do not have the lines. The gray part right there. It's a bunch of little lines. My hands are dirty, but even if your hands are clean, you don't want any unnecessary oils or anything on there. After you clean with Windex, it's pretty clean. So we don't want to put anything on there. And the way we put this back into the printer is if you look at the printer head, scoot away a little bit. There's a little hole right there where the ribbon went through. If we look inside that hole, we see a little itty bitty sensor in there with a little gap in it. And there, that ribbon, we have to feed it through that hole between those two little pillars there, which is the sensor, through the other side. Now we got the ribbon through here. It goes in here and then out the other side right here. We can start from this side and take it and hook it over the little clip right there. Right here, this little clip. And if you had to touch this part while feeding it through your printer head, you can touch it by the sides. You can touch it like this and feed it through. But if you touched it like this by accident, that's okay. We just can't turn it on until we clean it again. So we're going to connect our other side up here. Stretch it a little bit. Again, our arrow is facing up. So we take our pen there, and hard to do one-handed. There we go, like that. Now, like I said in the last part, if you did accidentally touch the line part like this and not up and down like this, move the printer head the farthest away you can from the point. And say if I touched it here, you would see smudge marks, obviously. But you can just take your towel and Windex, fold it over, and run it down until you don't see any more smudge marks. And then again, if your vacuum tubes here become detached, I'm going to show you how they were before they got detached. There's one tube running from the part up here, which we can't see because it's back down there, runs to this splitter right here. These split tubes go to the bottom two holes of your pump. Pump sits like this within the printer. So the split goes to these two on the bottom. Then there's two more tubes that run out of the top. They both go into the bottom of this device here. Now, it doesn't matter which one goes where, because in this pump, it just pulls in both of these and pushes out the same. Like this one goes in here, out here, in here, out here. So it doesn't matter because they go to the same place, which is down here. And this ultimately goes out back into there. So if your hoses became detached, that's how the configuration was before. Now we got our control board back in, making sure all our connections are tight, and making sure that our ribbon for our printer head is securely locked again, and make sure all this down here is nice and tight. Our 3 bolts up there and our 1 bolt down here is again tight. Okay, and then once you got it all back together, go ahead and plug it in and turn it on. And I'm going to get an error message because I didn't put my ink back in. But when you turn it on, it will run through a bunch of the checks and stuff that it does when you power it off for a long time, which is normal. So it may take 15 to 20 minutes to come fully back up. If you made a repair, you can confirm your repair was successful. Yep, there's a message for the ink. Confirm your repair was successful by going through whatever you replaced and making sure it works. And yeah, that's how you pretty much tear this thing apart.